Hey, what's up guys? It is Freedom, and today we're going to talk about the differences between an appraisal and an inspection. Because you might be selling your house, you might think it's the same. So we're going to talk about what it is and what it isn't and what you might want to expect. You guys stay tuned to the video. So I am actually at a house that we are getting appraised right now because we're in the process of getting this house sold with a first-time seller. And they asked me this question, and I get this question a lot all the time by sellers. So why do we need an appraisal for the house if they already signed the contract? Well, here's some tips about what an appraisal is. The first place I want to start is what it is not. So it is not an inspection. An inspection is actually talking about the condition of the house. And we've already had that here at this house, right? They've already come in and say, hey, this is how old the roof is. This is what's going on with the water. This is the foundation of the house. An inspection is actually the condition of the house. But the appraisal is actually what the value of the house is. Now, you might be thinking, well, they can get the appraiser themselves. It used to work that way, but it doesn't work that way anymore. Because now, whenever a buyer is getting a loan for a bank from a bank, that was crazy. When they're getting a loan from a bank actually hires an appraiser to go over there and really see what the value of the house is. And there's two ways of doing it. We'll talk about the cost approach in another video, but 98% of the time, the way that an appraisal is happening is they're looking at the comps of the house. It's the sales comparison approach to what that house could potentially be valued at. And the reason why they want to do that is the bank wants to make sure that they're putting a good investment, a fair amount of money on this house. They want to make sure that they're not overpaying for a house. They want to make sure the buyer isn't overpaying for a house. So what they do is they do this sales comparison approach, and they do like 4 to 5 comps or comparable houses that's sold typically within the last 90 days. Sometimes they expand it out to the last year. Sometimes they go within the subdivision though. So the best way, and I tell everyone this, the best way to really get a close estimate of what that house is going to get appraised for is you want to find the house's twin. And I tell this analogy all the time, and it really does help, because let's say if you're looking in your closet and you're looking for a shoe, you're like, man, I found the left shoe, but I'm looking for the right shoe, and you can't find the right shoe, so you go all through the closet. Well, you're not going to put on like a sneaker and a heel whenever you're walking outside today. No, you're going to find, where's the right shoe? I found my left shoe. Where is my right shoe? So you're trying to find its twin. In the real estate world, you're trying to find a house's twin whenever you're appraising for a house as well, right? Because someone could say, well, yeah, I know I'm the homeowner and I'm selling my house, but Tommy sold his house down the street for $1 billion and I want to sell my house for $1 billion. Well, it's not realistic if your house is 80 years older and if your house has 5 less bedrooms than their house, right? So you want to find its twin. So if you've got, like in this house right here, we have a 4-bed, 3-bath house. And the house that I'm in right now, this house is 1970. Well, the appraiser, remember, that's coming from the bank. They've outsourced that to an appraiser. They're trying to find the same thing. A house that's within maybe 10 to 15 years of that age range of 1970. They're trying to find a house that's a 4-bed, 3-bath as well. And they're trying to find as many twins of that as well, so they can make an educated evaluation of what the house is. But let me ask you for an example. Let's say you got a 3-bed, 2-bath house, right? And you see the house next door to you sold for $700,000. But that house is a 2021 house and your house is 1970. Is that a comparable? Did you find, is that your twin? You see what I'm saying? Is that your twin? No, the answer is no, it's not your twin. So you gotta go back in the closet and find the right shoe. So that's what the appraisers do. They wanna find about 4 to 5 twins in that neighborhood, and they wanna stick to the subdivision. But sometimes they'll expand out into other subdivisions, but they wanna find that 4 to 5, all right? So the whole goal of getting an appraisal, remember, that happens by the buyer's bank. That doesn't happen by the seller, you, the seller. It doesn't happen by you. It doesn't happen by the buyer themselves. They can't handpick. They used to be able to do that, and then there was the 2008 recession, and we saw what happened there. So the bank said, hey, we're gonna start taking care of this ourselves, because whenever we get buyers to come do this, they're putting astronomical numbers on this house. And you guys know, just look up 2008 recession. The whole goal of the appraiser is to either support or not support what the contract is. So I don't know if you guys know this, so I want to tell you that the appraiser actually sees what the house is under contract for. So they're walking in understanding, hey, this seller and this buyer did agree to this point, did agree to this price point. Does that really sway them? No. But they're walking in informed of what the situation is. They see what the price has been agreed upon. Their job is to go find 4 or 5 twins in that neighborhood and see if their appraisal can justify what the contract between you and the buyer is, right? So that's the whole goal, to either support or not support. So it's really important for you as a homeowner to make sure that you've got your house properly priced, but also make sure before you go into contract with the buyer that you know what type of lending that they're getting as well. Because if it's all cash, you don't need an appraiser, right? But 98% of the deals that do happen on the MLS are getting a loan with conventional and a VA loan or a FHA loan. So those loans are always going to come with an appraiser. All right. So make sure that you got your house properly priced and all that. But this is just a really quick video of what the appraiser, what their job is. Remember, they're not hired by you. They're not hired by the buyer. It's a third party that has been hired by the bank, and their whole goal is to support or not support what that contract is. So make sure you got your house properly priced. Make sure you've got an understanding with the buyer, what type of loan that they're getting. Your agent should be letting you know that. If you're looking for an agent and you're out here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we do that as well. So we'll always let you guys know. You'll walk into that process educated. But I wanted to tell you guys that because some people have been asking me, why didn't they get the appraisal done when there was an inspection? But it doesn't actually work that way. The appraisal actually happens after the inspection, okay? So I want to talk about now what happens after the appraisal. So we're going to use a real world scenario so you get an idea of what happens after the appraisal if that appraisal does not come back at the price that you and that buyer agreed upon. So we've got a house right now, and the house has actually been under contract for $250,000, right? The appraiser comes out there, and the appraisal came back at $230,000. Here's what's happening on the buyer side. And I want to tell you sellers so you actually know what's going on. The bank hired this appraiser and they said, hey, this house is not worth to us. We found 4 or 5 twins and we think that the house is worth $230,000. Well, that's the actual amount that the bank is going to give to that buyer. They're not going to give $250,000, even though that's what you and the buyer agreed upon. So now we're at this crossroads. I can't even say the word. We're at this crossroads. We're at this crossroads where something has to happen. There's $20,000 that's got to be accounted for, right? So what happens? The bank has already, they put their foot down. They said, hey, we saw the house. We think it's appraised at $230,000. That's what we're giving. You and the seller have to go work that out now. So this is what's happening. If that happens to you, to your house, something has to happen, either a reduction in price. And that's what you as a seller, you don't want that to happen, right? So that's why it's so important to make sure that the house is properly priced. You don't want to overprice a house because you're already counting the money in your head if you get that amount, right? But remember, if there's a loan, then that is the final say on what the bank is willing to give the buyer. So there's another thing that you can do though. Instead of you reducing the price, then it just comes to negotiation with the buyer. Sometimes the buyer has enough money to actually cover the difference, and they'll even give you a waiver appraisal as well. They say, hey, if this house comes at any price lower than this, we're willing to pay what the contract says. And there's a couple different ways that they can do that. We'll talk about that in another video, but I want you guys to know that when it comes to that appraisal and it comes less than what you agreed with that buyer on, then negotiation time starts with the buyer. And hopefully the buyer has enough money to actually cover the difference, or maybe you're in a situation where you could reduce the price, or maybe you come out of pocket and help them cover some of the difference as well. So that is what happens. But once that appraisal does happen, then the bank has pretty much set their foot and said, hey, this is what I'm willing to give this buyer to purchase your house. So I just want to inform you guys on that as well. So guys, that pretty much wraps it up, guys. If you guys want to know any more seller tips, you guys just go right here. I've got a whole playlist just for you guys about the home selling process. I'm giving PDFs, and I'm doing as much as I can just to inform you guys on what the process is like, because I know it's crazy, especially in this market, going through the whole process and knowing what the title company is, what the escrow officer is, and what is the bank and what type of loans. I'm putting all that information out just for you guys, so you guys walk into every deal informed. Putting videos out here every week, guys. Thank you guys for even watching. If you like this one, just like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend. I just want to hear your feedback, and I'll see you guys on the other side. All right.